Hello, and welcome to Conversations with Creatives. My name is Esther Stanford, and today I am joined by one of the most inspiring people I think I've ever met. Her name is Starling. She is a singer-songwriter, and she is completely autonomous in the work that she creates. She was discovered about 10 years ago singing in a bar in Soho. She was told when she was younger she couldn't sing, but then on this particular night, Henry from 07 was there, and he said, "Meet me tomorrow. Let's chuck some words around. Let's do some writing together." And that has led on to an incredible career for her, where she's been writing with Massive Attack and some of the biggest artists in the world, which we'll get into in the episode. She also coaches and mentors artists, teaching them and helping them and enabling them and empowering them to be able to earn really good money, to launch themselves, to change their belief systems, to make their help make their nervous systems feel safe and secure so that they feel that they can be visible. She's a speaker. She does loads of things, and she really thinks outside the box. She's completely autonomous. She's doing something, and she's been doing it for a couple of years, the house tour, where she goes to people's houses and she performs her songs and her music. And it's a way of connecting people, because that is what we are all craving globally, really, at the moment, isn't it? She is fascinating and, as I say, very inspiring. Without further ado, let's get into the episode. Well, thank you so much for coming and chatting with me. I am so excited to talk to you. I think you are a complete ray of sunshine, and everything you talk about completely aligns with the life that I'm actually trying to create, in terms of, I have probably been a blocked artist for a long time because of childhood trauma, and then I've been working with other people a lot and seeing that in them, and that's why I've sort of started this platform. And I'm interested in somatics and how we are blocked artists, but also autonomy over your own career.
Yeah.
And I met you through our mutual friend Susie, and was sort of just blown away by you, and the fact that you are so, you go in your own direction. And I think that is fantastic. So I'm so glad to talk to you today, and just to hear about your life.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just think you're a ray of sunshine. I really do.
That means the world.
And I wanted to talk to you because you were originally told you couldn't sing, but yet you're a singer. Can you tell us a bit about that?
I was told I couldn't sing from day dot, and one of those aspects was a cute, fun thing, which is actually not trauma. I'm one of 6, and they were just like, "Shut up." Just stop. It was Spice Girls. It was the 90s. I was singing my heart out, and it's annoying if you've got lots of siblings and one of them likes to sing. But where it got really deep was, I was at school and I wanted to sing a song. I think I was in like year 6, right? So you're quite young, like 10, 11. And somebody said, "You're not going to be good enough to sing that for school or for the assembly." And then I had, by this point, already got into Lambda exams. I feel like your viewers will know what that is, with my little acting exams, and learnt very quickly that it was safer to be someone else, because I grew up in a household of addiction and violence, and I didn't feel very safe. And so I'd do these poems or do these monologues, be this character. And then, of course, they will say, musical theatre or whatever it is, in the acting one. And so then I'd audition and say, "No, you haven't got the voice." So what I interpreted, Esther, was that very quickly, I don't have what it takes to be a singer, but I might have what it takes to be an actor. And I just add to that I was a very nervy girl. I still am a little bit nervous, stage fright. So my voice wasn't necessarily that good. So on one hand, I want to be like, "Who are these haters? Let's track them down and murder." And on the other, it kind of makes sense. It's a young girl who's got a lot of stuff going on at home, a lot of issues as a result of that. Stage fright, nervousness, no confidence, wants to sing, her voice is shaking, and they put her in the box of musical theatre. And let's be honest, even now, I don't have a musical theatre voice.
No.
I have a pop voice, and it would be like saying to an opera singer, "Oh, you can't sing," when she can sing opera, but she can't sing pop. So a lot of the beliefs we have as children are absolutely blanket, that if they say you're crap at art, you'll think forever, "I'm crap at art." Or I was told as I'm crap at accents, which I still kind of am. But it really made me more crap by thinking it's a cul-de-sac, like I have nowhere to go with this. Whereas what quite quickly happened, I got into a really good drama school and basically ended up going down the acting route, or so I thought, was that I didn't realize that all of that was musical theatre. And then when I graduated and I sort of moved back to sort of Soho, London, and was a waitress trying to get acting work, you know how it goes, that's a very typical thing to experience after drama school. I then decided maybe I could sing. Like maybe it was there in this bar where I was having a minimum wage job that I sung and I shook and I went very red and blushed, but in the audience was someone famous, and that changed the face of my life, and that was 10 years ago.
So with the singing, was that something that you did privately and were quite loose with, quite confident with, but
I
then
just stopped singing. Yeah,
just
I stopped singing for about 12. Yeah, I just stopped singing.
So
I'd
what
always sing
prompted you?
like in the shower maybe, but like I wouldn't say I was singing. And then I had this lovely friend from drama school and she kind of played the ukulele. And then I started to open my mouth and sing and just let something come out. And obviously it was covers with a few songs that we sung, like Joni Mitchell. And then it was a cover that I sung that this band, Massive Attack 07, saw me, and that was kind of that.
But
Yeah.
I mean, like zero attack, 07 massive attack.
Let's blend them.
Let's shift them together. Oh my God. Well, 07, one of their albums is I think probably my favorite album of all time, because I can just listen to it. So just over and over, and I just take so much from it. And Massive Attack, well, they're just incredible, aren't they? But were you harboring that desire to be a singer and then just quite, sort of singing with your friend, or was it just, was it something you were thinking about a lot, or was it just you just started doing it and then you were spotted?
I had always just accepted that that's not going to be for me. I don't know how to put it into words, but when you have unconsciously decided, like, I will never go to space, or I will never, like, that certain thing won't ever be for me. I won't ever have that opportunity. And for me, for whatever reason, or I guess for the reasons I've just shared, being a pop singer was never going to be for me.
So it literally shut down in your brain. There was no sort of like, I wish.
Right, totally, man. And I was focused on creativity, I guess, with the acting. Not that I was getting much work, but I was focused on that. I'm still grateful that I had drama training, but I think, what I really needed looking back at the age I was is like therapy ASAP. And like, just someone saying you're lovable, someone saying you're good enough. I think that we look to fame when we're younger. I don't know if you've ever experienced this or your viewers, because I think unconsciously we think, well, famous people don't have problems. So like, I want to be famous because then I might not have any of these big problems that I have. I won't have any more of my pain. So I think I thought, oh, acting will get me that fame, or being someone else will remove the pain of being me. And I'm not saying all actresses feel that. I actually think you can be a very healthy actress. But for me, acting wasn't actually particularly that healthy, in that I wanted to not be me. And that was sort of, as soon as I kind of had some therapy and realized that, there was no other way but to become a songwriter or a singer. So I write, and I can go into how I write in a moment, but I write purely autobiographically, as in I write my truth. I'm not writing trying to pretend I've had an experience. It's all autobiographical.
Yeah, I totally resonate with what you're saying. I had quite a lot of trauma in my childhood as well, and I was an only child, and I think it was I remember doing impersonations for my grandmother and her mother once, and them crying with laughter. I was about 5. I was doing Margaret Thatcher and stuff like that. And my great grandmother going, "Oh, Joan, she's a dirty little devil," and crying with laughter, and just thinking, because my parents had gone to, now I always get this wrong, Bruges or Brussels with the mannequin piss.
Oh, yeah.
So my parents had gone there and I was 5. So I was going, "Well, and I was doing Margaret Thatcher. And then I started to do stand up about the mannequin piss. So essentially it was a stand up routine. And they laughed so hard, and I thought, I like this. And when I look back, I was a child that sometimes used to lie on the floor and pretend to be dead to see if anyone would notice. And I don't know exactly what was going on. Well, I do know some of it, but I know quite a lot of it. But I think I was quite a nervous child and quite a shy child around children at school. But then if I could step into being somebody else, suddenly you're allowed to be angry. Suddenly you're allowed to cry. Suddenly you're allowed to be a complete arsehole. And so and
It's
because it's not
okay.
you and you're getting praised for it. And everyone's going, oh, she's bloody amazing. And so
Yeah, when you put it like that, who doesn't want to be an actor?
exactly, you get to do all of these things. But then it's not your own voice if you're not writing the stuff, and you're just waiting around for someone to cast you,
Choose you.
and you're sort of not expressing. It's about self-expression, but suddenly you're not really self-expressing because you're just waiting for someone to cast you in an advert or a couple of episodes of EastEnders, and there's no autonomy, and so I can totally understand that way of being able to express, but also you're keeping yourself hidden. Look at me, but don't really look at me.
Totally.
And so you were obviously spotted. Was it Henry from 07?
Yeah.
Yeah. And tell me about that night, because that must have been mental.
Well, the mad thing was, it was then the morning because he was like, he heard the song and then I forget what he said, but it was something like, oh, I've got a studio in West Hampstead. We could write. Well, I'd never written. So I was like, oh yeah, we could write. I was like, sure.
Yeah, I can do that.
Of course. I'll see you there at 11.
Shit, how do you write a song?
Yeah, and ChatGPT didn't exist then, so I think it was really my notebook. Of course, I'd always journaled, which I can go into in a moment about how that's really saved my life. Therapist got me onto journaling very, very early on, and that really helped me hear myself, but also become a songwriter because you want to write your truth down right on the paper. And also, if you don't want it, you can burn it or never read it back, but the paper will never judge you, and the ear of a paper is endless, whereas a friend, you're like, can I continue to talk about myself, or is this rude?
Yeah, is this too much? Am I going around in circles?
5 minutes of me talking. Do you want to talk? The paper will never say that.
Yeah.
So I brought my notebook to Henry's studio. I mean, it's really 07 studio, but I think it was Henry's main place. And yeah, I wrote my first song, and then I got a record deal with Communion Records for part of Ireland. It's still up on Spotify. It's about 10 years old now, and it's called Take It Down, and I wrote it about my parents' divorce. And in a way, it's a really wonderful song and my voice is it's really kind of embarrassing for me because it's so early, the work, but it's also so beautiful because it's really, my whole EP with Henry actually was quite dark. Hadn't had as much therapy. I didn't know, I didn't love myself. I was just trying. I was 20 something and I was just trying. But I think what was wonderful about Take It Down is, and you'll appreciate this, is, when you don't know how to do something right, in a way you're more original.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, verse, chorus, outro. I was like, okay, that's a song. I mean, when I say I had never written a song.
Yeah.
So, in a way, this chorus isn't really a chorus. And he was like, that will be fine. We'll chop this with this. Obviously he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And in a way, 07 are not conventional. They have choruses, but they're not pop, right? So they have a different structure to songs. So anyway, the point is really, it's quite a wonderful piece because I didn't know what I was doing. I was very young, and it's very honest about finding the papers that said that I wouldn't live with my dad anymore, and that's called Take It Down. So yeah, I did that, and then from there I learned on the job. I had a great manager called Alex, and I think I did 300 songs a year. I was put with Adele's writer, Ed Sheeran's writer, and I kind of learned on the job with these amazing Grammy winning writers. But I also learned very quickly that when I'm put in a room with someone who has so many ideas, because a lot of, not being mean, but also a lot of pop stars don't necessarily write, or they do, but someone else has written and they've just had the idea. That actually sometimes when I'm with someone who's quite overbearing, even though they mean well, I lose my own DNA. And what I really loved about Henry, and I've got a couple of guys now that I find are a perfect fit for about 5 different people I songwrite with, is they allow me space and yet still have input and say, oh, actually change that line, or that could be better. So what I loved about working with Henry is he would be honest if it wasn't good enough, but he also wouldn't really necessarily, he would write, but I would bring it, whereas he would bring the music. And sometimes when I'm put with writers who are not used to having an artist who's very knowing what she wants to say, is you can end up having a song that is quite generic. And what I'm
Mm.
always trying to do is have a song that is truly Starling, i.e. truly me, truly person.
Mm. What you want to say, and I
Yeah,
think that nervous system stuff then, isn't it? It's who you feel safe with, and that you can breathe around, that you can sort of, that they're not going to be there criticizing or sort of judging, or you
yeah,
feel you can relax and play and
yeah,
make it work.
yeah,
Um, and I just want to go back just one tiny step into the actual moment, because you weren't aspiring to be a singer anymore. And then were you performing your own song? And what did you think when he came over to you and said, "Oh, I'd quite like to work with you. Hello, I'm Henry from Zero Seven." Like what? Like, because
I'll
that's
be
such a
honest,
massive
I
shift.
didn't know who Zero Seven were because of my age. I think, even though they're amazing and I realise their power now,
Mm.
I think because of my age, it was slightly like I had to Google it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Whereas
yeah,
because I come from a bit of a dancing back, like I did quite a lot of dance classes as a kid. Even if you're not the age of Master Tech, you'll know what teardrop is, right? Like it's in every contemporary, right? So with Zero Seven, it took me a minute, and then I was like, oh, wait, you're Sia's band. Oh, I love Sia. What is it? So I think firstly, it took me a minute to realize, who this was and the magnitude of it. Secondly, I think my voice, I think it was called Old Fashioned Morphine. It was covered. I used to just sing covers like Joni Mitchell, and I really liked bluegrass and roots music as well. And then from there, yeah, what I wrote was not roots. It was trip hop pop, whatever you want to call it, singer songwriter stuff with him. But I don't know how deep you want to go. I think sometimes you don't realize a moment's changed your life until afterwards.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then I also sometimes think that if I'm honest, and I might have said this on you and Susie's podcast, is that if I'm also honest, I'm trying to cast my mind back, 'cause this is a long time ago, 10, 11 years, but I was starting to really look at manifestation because I was desperate. I didn't have money. I didn't have anyone in the industry. I didn't have any confidence. I didn't have anyone that could help me. I don't mean to be a victim, but I just didn't
Mm.
really have much support or resource. Um, And so in the middle of serving pints and drinks and speaking to people, because sometimes the club was busy and sometimes it was quiet, I would go on YouTube, and YouTube is obviously free. And it would be like, I heard about, somebody had told me about Abraham Hicks, which is obviously like one of the leaders in the manifestation techniques or ideas, if you subscribe, which is the idea of you focusing on something and removing the blocks that tell you can't have it. And I really got into that. And I kept saying, this will be the place I changed my life. But I knew I was on minimum wage, and I knew I had a dad who was like, I love my dad, but he was like, you've got a first class degree. What are you doing? Because what I don't share to a lot of people is that I was meant to be there like 7 months, 6, 7 months, like for a summer. And I was there 7 years. So 7 years of not being in
Yeah,
work as an actor or whoever, it can start to make you feel like it's never going to happen.
yeah,
And so one of the things I give talks on is how you hold the vision, even when there's no evidence,
yeah,
even when all the evidence is pointing that you're a failure or that you'll never really get the career of your dreams. And actually, manifestation or Abraham Hicks videos on YouTube actually did help me realize things, even when I was so young and I hadn't done therapy or coaching, that I probably could create anything if I put my mind to it.
yeah.
And that night was an example.
I find it fascinating, that kind of thing, because I am a huge believer in it. And then I have days where I'm sort of like, well, I could try more. I'm a bit bristly with it.
Me too.
But then I remember years ago, I mean, I've had so many examples, but I remember years ago, my kids were really little, and I was exhausted. And I remember thinking, so we were talking about this earlier. My dad's from Whitstable, and I go to Whitstable quite a lot, but he doesn't live there anymore. And to me, it's like my place where my brain switches off. And I remember saying, I just want to go to Whitstable for 1 week on my own, not as a wife, not as a mother, just as Esther. And I had helped out with an audition the year before, and stepped in, and the woman who was directing came over to me and went, "Oh my God, I fucking love you, but I can't cast you because I've already got an actress playing this." Anyway, cut to May the following year, when I'd been thinking, I just want to go to Whitstable, I got this phone call. Somebody linked us up, and she said, "I lost the funding for the film. I've raised the money separately. The actress I had in that role has gone to Australia. I think it was always supposed to be you. We're filming for 1 week. It's in a place called Whitstable. Can you come down?" And I was like, Thank you.
Stop.
Like, it was so specific. I'm spitting everywhere. It was so specific.
Fabulous. Yeah.
And it's so interesting. I'll tell you another one. Oh my God, I'll have to show you a picture of this afterwards. I've got a pinboard in my, I'm excited now. Got a pinboard in my office, and on it is all like inspiration. And I have a picture of Richard Curtis on there. And my son has wanted a cat for, oh God, he asked me every day for 10, 12 years. No, you can't have a cat, we've got a dog. And then he gave me an orange cat sticker and stuck it on my pinboard. And I stuck it, and it's touching Richard Curtis. And then last year, Susie and I had Emma Freud on our podcast, Richard Curtis's wife. And she came on, and Richard Curtis popped onto our podcast, just came and joined. And we were chatting to Richard Curtis. And then she said, I've got all these kittens. And I went, oh my God, my son wants a kitten. And she went, well, I've got one. And my son had always wanted an orange cat, and she's going to call him Pablo. And she pulls up this orange cat and she says, this is Pedro, your son can have him. And it wasn't until afterwards that I came off and went, this board's fucking magical. Like, it's just mad. What? How is that a thing?
I am obsessed with this Pedro story. Have you got Pedro?
It's Pablo, actually.
Pablo, sorry.
Well, it's slightly longer. So what happened was, she was going to give him to me, and then she said, my son wants him. I didn't know he was the last kitten left. So I'm going to buy your son a cat. So she bought James a cat, and James had always wanted a ragdoll or a ginger. She didn't know this. So she bought him a cat that was a cross of the two. We went to pick him up, called him Pablo, took him to the vet's, and they went, that's not a boy. So she's Pablo, but Emma Freud and Richard Curtis bought James a cat that he had wanted that was half ginger, half ragdoll. And there's other things that are on the board. Last year, I put a
nationally mad story. I'm obsessed with this story.
Isn't it? And then I put a National Theatre badge on there last December because I'd never been. And I've been to National 3 times this year, and I've been gifted every experience. So this board, darling, I'll put some stuff on there for you if you want. Although you sound like a strong manifester.
I'm going to send you a list right now.
So
that's amazing.
You write through journaling, would you say? Is that how you begin a song?
Yeah. So I was thinking about this in advance of this this podcast, this show, is that I will say, because I really rarely get asked how I create. So I will say exactly how I do it, but I'm also aware that everyone's process is so different. I'm also very lately diagnosed at 37, ADHD, and I didn't realize that might play a part in the kind of the chaos of my creativity. And I also write a lot with others rather than alone, and that can also help. So there's lots of pieces here, but yes, in a nutshell, I have, I'd love to show you a cupboard there with 300 notebooks, and I add them every month or every 2 weeks because I'm a fiend. I get through I literally just buy them for £1 now from Poundland because I get through so many, but I do check the energy of a notebook. I don't know about you.
I've had 2 arrived today that I get from Chanel that are £7 and they're massive.
But does it have a good energy about it?
Yes. And it has to be the right colour, and it has to feel right at the time. Otherwise, I won't buy it.
This is the thing. We need actually a whole podcast on the notebook because it's very important. And if it's not got the right spaciousness or thickness, it's a whole thing.
It is.
Anyways, back to the journaling. So when I had a therapist when I was very young, I actually had him for many years. He saved my life. But he said to me, I think what you need to do to help yourself, because I was in a really bad spot in my early 20s, and to speed up the process, is you need to do dream analysis. So he's one of those Jungian guys, as in Carl Jung process. And it was writing my dreams down. But then what it led to, because I don't write my dreams down anymore, interestingly, but what it led to is every morning, not just writing my dreams, but writing my feelings. And then you'll know the artist's way. Julia Cameron, and it's all about just writing, and then you can discuss. It's almost like a process. For me, I actually don't throw my stuff away. I actually think if it's something I want to talk about, I will take a picture and then I will use that as a springboard for my studio. So when I go into the studio, writing with a producer or a songwriter, or alone, but mainly it's with someone else, I'll then say, I've had a thought of a song called Second Chance, or I've had a thought of a song called I know I'm enough, I can feel it, or something. There'll be a phrase or a something, let the phoenix rise, whatever it is, Queen. And could we work with that? And that's normally I start with lyrics before melody and lyrics before music. Occasionally they say I've got beat or I've got a sequence of chords I think you will like. And then I would write my thoughts and ideas on top. But typically I'm theme first rather than sonic first.
And is it kind of... do you trust your gut instinct a lot?
100%.
Mm.
100%. I'm very opinionated. I'm also really open if someone doesn't think it's that good, but I trust, God, it might sound arrogant, but I trust that I have good taste,
Mm.
maybe. Um, and I find that when I'm second guessing, which is rarely, that's actually when I need to take a break.
Mm.
Got into my head, and actually best creativity is coming straight from your heart or your torso or your stomach. It's here, it's below the throat. And when I'm up here above the throat, that's I think, yeah, you need to take a break, or yeah, or come
It's a
back.
distance.
Right, totally.
Because I find in the silence is where I get clarity. Because you can be going, and then I almost can sometimes get in a, well, should I do it like this or should I do it like that? And actually, you're right. As soon as you take the noise away and take some space, have a break, whatever, the answer's there. It's there, and
Yeah,
and you just know.
yeah,
Um, for the
yeah.
work that you do, I know obviously you've had lots of therapy and you journal a lot. Did you feel like you needed to create an alter ego to be visible?
Yes, originally I did. I wondered if Starling was separate. And a long story short, 10 years of having this stage name, which is obviously, well, it's not obvious, but it's fake. Like, my real name's Harriet, and it's not my surname either. I got given this kind of I kind of got given this name, is I have now realized there's no difference.
Mm,
Any difference at all. Starling has more confidence and is more bold than Harriet, but I would say Starling, if you like, as an alter ego, has taught me that it's safe to take up space
mm,
and it's safe to be seen. But no, I'd say like my lyrics, me, is probably Harriet. I'm not. Some artists are looking to create a different world, and I'm not. I'm looking to create more of a truthful world, and I just try to say the truth. That's what I'm trying to always do.
mm.
I realize that when I'm speaking more of my truth, my problems aren't only mine. Like, I realize, oh, like other women are like, oh my God, you wrote this song for me. And I'm like, no, I wrote it for me. But it just so happens we're the same, right? So I'm trying to speak truth. And I think that that's what we're hungry for, is just a bit of realness.
Yeah, I totally agree. And would you say that from what you were saying then, it felt to me like you were Harriet, you were Starling, and now Harriet
Right.
and Starling are like one. Would
Yeah.
you say like she gave you the confidence initially, but now you just are the same person?
Yeah, and I'm surprised I'm saying that, and I've not really been asked that, but I feel like that's true. The only thing I will say about having a fake kind of a stage name, if you will, is I really like it when people call me it when I'm working, and I really like that my husband and my family call me Harriet, because I feel there's somehow a psychological difference. It's
Yeah.
like, and I'm sure you've got this, but my business has a different registered address to where I live to protect
Mm.
my identity. And I bought it, I think it's 50 quid a year or whatever it is. And although that sounds like something that most businesses do, it feels like a parallel to having a stage name, in that there's some kind of protective shield,
Mm.
but I'm still me. If that
Yes.
makes sense, then I'm the artist or I'm the pop star or whatever it is. And then I'm coming home and I'm a wife or I'm a friend or I'm a sister.
Yeah, there's that separation, isn't there? It's not
Right.
your complete identity. You can switch off from her. You can
Right.
leave her and just come and, potter and play with
Yeah.
your rabbits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and
so
daydream. Like, I think Starling is very, public facing, but if I'm honest, I'm an introvert. So
yeah.
I struggle. I don't struggle with the job because I've got better boundaries, but I struggle if I'm always on, because then, to your point, there's no space or there's no integration. Like I was just telling you before we hit record, like I finished a tour on Sunday. That was a lot. There was like 10 shows in a few weeks. Like, it was quite a lot of travel and work. But then what's so wonderful is when I'm off, and I often teach this in
Mm,
my group program, the Glow Up, where I'm like, you've got to have patches, because if you're really on, you can be really off. But the danger of being self-employed is you're never really off.
yeah,
So it's,
totally.
the secret is, if you're going to be on, great, but then you need to know, it's what I call a stretch period. And then the
Yeah.
stretch period ends, but most of us don't know about endings. We only know about beginnings.
Yeah, totally. As I've got older, I've understood more and more that that is something that I need. And actually, I was doing some work last year, which I really loved. And then but I was doing it every week for 11 months. And then I got to the end of the year and I had a month off. And then I was thinking about this year. And then I went to sleep one night and thought, and my brain just went, what are you doing? And then I woke up the next day and thought, oh, I think this is done. This is great. But actually, I have to have the space to know that. So when I go away, I'm really, and people don't understand it. I find some people don't understand it. I'm like, I'm not going to check my WhatsApp. I'm not going to check my emails. I'm not going to check Instagram. I'm not going to check anything. So don't try and talk, like, I'm not going to be rude. If there's an emergency, please do let me know. But I am not, because as soon as that happens, ideas. I mean, I'm going away next week and I can feel ideas already creeping in and clarity because I know I'm about to get some space. And I'm like you, I'm a total notebook. I mean, I've got masses and I get through them very, very quickly. Um, and it's just, and I get quite anxious. I remember flying to Mexico years ago and being at the airport and saying to my husband, I don't have a pen and paper. I don't have a pen and paper. And we had to go and get me like a little moleskin tiny notebook from the shop, and like it was the only notebook they had. And
Yeah.
you're right, 'cause it was a funny shade of green. And I was like, I don't know if I like this. Anyway,
Yeah, no, I get it.
it's that kind of, I'm already starting to have new ideas and clarity, and I don't think you can get that without space. And it is full on what you do. It is full on. You're performing. You're making people feel. You're bringing joy. You're making people feel amazing, and you're traveling.
And I was going to say, it's actually the traveling essay that I find. So sometimes I have a TM, a tour manager, and sometimes I don't. And this one I just did was like, you probably heard of it, is the house concert. So it's
Yes.
literally going to fans' houses. So that's really great. But the shadow side of that is we can have a TM, but then it eats into profit, but we don't really charge much to the host. It's quite a nice business model for the fan, because we're not trying to, opt people out. So then it ends up, I do the driving. Well, with the ADHD, I do struggle with the driving. I can drive, of course, but like focusing for 4 hours, doing a show and then 4 hours back it's a lot.
Yeah.
So that on Sunday, and then Monday I was like pooped. But I think probably I'll just consistently get a TM. But to your point, you're moving around, as with any, you don't have to be a singer, actor, traveling around, as well as then digging deep for the emotions, then performing under pressure. Then you do your meet and greet or whatever. Like it's a lot, but it's great. And then it's just knowing, okay, when am I going to hermit? And this week I've actually really enjoyed like organizing my desk, or like responding to an email, or like DMing you and being like, I'm excited. It's just nice to have that space. But I feel like we're in a world which rewards urgency, and urgency is fake. Like, you can't turn off your phone for a week. By you doing that, you're going to be way more creative and way more productive when you return.
Yes, totally. And sometimes I have to be really firm with those boundaries, because not everybody likes it. And I have to be like, no, please. It's not, and I always think back to years ago, we'd go on holiday and we wouldn't have contact from someone, and weekends. And there is, like you say, it's rewarded, and there's an expectation there that we're on all the time. And I also like that in the work that you talk about, that we don't have to follow the system. Like we're being told post every day and do this every day, and my posts tend to come in bursts, because it's when I've got my energy, and then you'll get like 7 posts from me over about 3 days, and then nothing again for about a fortnight. Talk to me about the house tour, because I think this is fucking genius.
Thank you so much. So it was born out of 2 things. One, I was tired of being online. It was 2024 in May, June. And I made a reel and I said, I'm tired of being online, obviously pandemic and so on. I'm constantly, like most singers, you're told you have to post every day. It's like a full-time job, but you're not paid for it. You're a content creator. It's just a lot. And the second thing that it was born from was I didn't have an agent at the time. So I didn't have a full summer of festivals. So I had some time. Or at least I was about to have some time. And so I just made a reel, and I was honestly quite shocked, Esther, that this happened, because I just made a reel on Instagram, not knowing what that would lead to. And the reel just essentially, I've still got it, just sort of said, I'm really tired of being online. If you're a fan, I'll come to your kitchen, and I'll come to your house or your sitting room or garden. Just let me know. And there was a Google form attached. So it was a way you could apply. It went viral, and I chose 35 people's houses and traveled 6,000 miles that summer of 24.
It's amazing.
And since then there's a waiting list. So I've just done 10, which is what I was just sort of saying. I finished on Sunday, and then I also did it in 2025 and bought a film crew. And then I can send you the trailer. There's a
Oh,
There's
yeah, do.
Yeah, we pitched it to, like, TV companies like Netflix and so on. We need to do BBC Three and stuff, but it's essentially it's a pitch of this is what people are missing. The internet's great, AI's got its plus sides, but actually what people are feeling is total loneliness and isolation.
Yeah.
Community, not just in a venue where you're sloshing your beer on someone's shoulder and you're trying to hear and are you too far or close to the to the artist. This is your home. So you've
Mm.
got a chair or you've got just you and 20 people. So it's really promoting the idea that intimacy and community is missing.
Yeah.
And then in that, I do sort of half an hour concert and half an hour conversation. And in the conversation or the fireside circle is where I found out we've all got the same three problems. But because at the time there was no financial barrier at all, it was all donations. I was playing in council estates, I was playing in mansions, I was playing in castles, I was playing in bungalows, I was playing in horse farms. So there was no way that you would ever be cut out of the Starling tour, whether you had
Yeah.
money or not. At the time, it's a slightly different model now because that was not obviously sustainable,
No.
but it was awesome at the time. And the top three problems that everybody has in every single circle when we end up talking about the themes of the songs or what people are going through or how they're feeling, they might be feeling great or they might not be, is that everyone's either worried about their kids, they're worried about money, or they're worried about their health. And
Mm.
no matter what background you have or haven't got, we're humans and we are more united than we are separate. And
Yeah.
realizing those problems, whether you do or don't have money or support, those problems run through all of us.
Yeah. It made me quite emotional actually when you were talking about the fact that you were doing this tour and doing it in people's homes, because I just think people are great. Humans are great. We are so pitted against each other and, to just be together and we're sort of losing that so much, aren't we? When I think about growing up and I was often at my grandmother's and I'd be sat in a kitchen and a friend would come round for a cup of coffee and then there'd be her and her daughter, who's my aunt's best friend, and my mum and it'd be all of us
Yeah.
in the kitchen and I'd be allowed a very milky coffee and it would be for like 3 or 4 hours. There was no big meal. We don't have to go out for dinner. It's just there's coming around for a cup of coffee, sitting there for 3 hours and then going home. It wasn't, we've sort of, everything has to be quite big if we do anything, and we're all so isolated. And I think it's so beautiful to take your art to connect people, to bring joy, to just all be together, to share an experience. I just think it's wonderful, and the thinking outside the box with that, the autonomy. I've got a play I had on a few years ago.
Yeah.
And it did really well, and it was I had it on in London, but it was all self-funded, and it led to some amazing opportunities. And then I was thinking about staging it again, and I was like, "Freaking hell, this just doesn't add up. This just doesn't add up. Maybe I'm going to." When I was a kid, I used to stage plays in my grand's garage. Maybe I will stage it in a garage, and I'll get loads of press coverage. And I think it's that.
Yeah. You have
Thinking
to.
outside the box, not waiting for a gatekeeper, not waiting for someone to give you permission or say, here's a record contract, or here you can come and perform in our theatre, but you've got to win a competition. And like, let's think outside the box. If you want to make art, work it out.
I really feel that, Esther, and I really want the lovely listeners to know that they get to coronate themselves. I
Oh,
feel like when we're looking at a
goodness.
gatekeeper, it's like, let's say you want a book deal. Okay, the publisher's going to make me feel like HarperCollins is going to make me feel I'm good enough, or like this record deal, or this agent, or this promoter, or this whatever it is, they will coronate me because I'm good enough, because I have been signed, or whatever. If you come out of that model, which we're all very unconsciously tied into, and decide to put the crown on your own head, decide that you're good enough, decide that your ideas are good enough, then really the only challenge you have is the financing of it. And
Yeah.
for me, the only thing was, and I had a car because I'd obviously already moved to Kent and stuff. For me, I was like, oh, I think I could probably like drive without a TM. I think I could probably like get the speaker in the back of the car. Like I started to just literally think grassroots. And by the way, I've
Yeah.
had record deals. So this wasn't like a singer trying to make it. Like I've got a good fan base. So it was more about like, what can I do to add that creativity for me, but give connection to them?
Yeah.
And the only thing in the way is finances. Let's think about this. Like, let's make this
Mm.
work. And so, yeah, to your point, I feel like we've got to think outside of the box. And then what's so interesting, oh my God, Esther, what has come from this is out of control. Like a TV show idea. Dame Kelly Holmes was friends of one of the hosts and, the Olympic athlete. And she was like, oh, could you sing for my International Women's Day event in Mayfair at Grosvenor House or whatever it's called? It's
Wow.
like a massive ballroom.
Yeah.
Thousands. I was like, sure. Then that's led to me having other bookings for like I can't really say, but like for celebrities, private parties, then like it's unreal what has come from singing in a kitchen for 20 people.
And I think that's the
And they
thing,
don't
isn't
stop
it, as
working.
well? It's
Exactly.
about putting yourself out there, and then you don't know where that leads. People
Yeah.
don't know you exist if you don't do things, and just you
Yeah.
don't have to wait for anybody to give you permission to do anything. Just put your work out, and then suddenly
Yeah.
people start finding you, and more opportunities come, and you just have to trust in yourself and that you believe that your work is good, and then and then these doors open.
Yeah.
And particularly when you're doing something slightly unusual as well and outside the box, how do you deal with nerves? Do you
Oh,
get nervous?
now I'm fine, which is why I coach it. But I had such a problem with it. Yeah, my stage fright nearly stopped my career entirely 10 years ago. I learned a thing called tapping, EFT. So I feel like some people know. If not, just go on, listeners go on YouTube because tapping is amazing. EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. I then ended up training in it amongst other things. So I do tapping, but to be honest, now I don't. If I'm on tour mode and I don't feel it, I just feel a bit like, oh, but it doesn't feel crippling. My voice can still do exactly what it needs to do in terms of pitching, tuning, timing. When I'm doing bigger shows, because I've got so used to doing tiny shows, I'm now like, when there's hundreds of people, I'm now like, oh gosh, I'm suddenly, my nervous system is like, oh, we're not used to this. So that's when I double down on my nervous system techniques, which I trained in a neuroscience technique last year, which is like tapping, but different because you use different, like eye
Isn't it
movement.
EMDR?
No, it's so similar. It's hard to describe because it's so unusual. It's called neurosomatics. But even if you twiddle your tongue in a way 3 times to the left or to the right, even that, because of the
Was
way.
that with Anthea Bell?
No, oh, has she been teaching that?
Well, I did an online thing with her, and she did
Yeah.
something about the tongue. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, that maybe she's got it from NSI because we both had similar trainings. I love Anthea, by
Ah.
the way. Yeah, I've worked with Anthea, and yeah, the tongue is connected. This is just one exercise, but I've got 52. They train you in 52, but one exercise would be when you move your tongue in a circle. What's interesting is the tongue is directly connected to the longest nerve, which is the vagus, and then that gets stimulated under 30 seconds, and then your prefrontal cortex comes back online, and you reduce cortisol levels in under a minute. So
Wow.
that's really the training I ended up doing. I'd like to give more talks on, which is like, how do you feel safe when
Yeah.
you're under pressure, whether it's an argument with your partner or whether it's on stage, and you have to
Mm.
have quick techniques. And sometimes you can't be doing that on like tapping on stage.
Yeah.
So tongue, eye movements are great. Certain parts of the ear are great. And I ended up training that. But to answer your question, tapping is what saved my life for stage fright. And then I learned other techniques of essentially embodiment and grounding so that I could really feel. I think my whole thing is not really ever feeling safe. And I think
Mm.
that if you want to be a performer, you've got to double down on that, not just for your own mental health, but for you to be magnetic. So I think
Mm.
now my whole stuff is, do I feel safe? And if not, what could I do to help myself quickly
Mm.
feel safe? And that's why I got into all of that.
I think there's a lot of people. I think, without going into it in loads of detail, I think it's taken me a long time to understand that not feeling safe has held me back from like huge opportunities, and I see it in other people as well, and I'm so fascinated by that because it's literally the most vulnerable thing you can do is put yourself out there and put your work out there, and I think it is a hindrance for a lot of people. I do think a lot of performers I do think a lot of performers are neurodiverse. A lot of creatives are neurodiverse. I can't think of anybody that I know who I don't think is neurodiverse who is a creative, and or I know is neurodiverse. And I think a lot of people have had some form of trauma. Well, trauma, but then being neurodiverse and not quite feeling like you fit in anyway is also it's a coping mechanism, isn't it? And it's and so to then stand up in front of people and perform, it's quite a thing. And I think so fascinated by nervous system work. I've done some of it myself, because you actually mentor and coach as well alongside your. And this is what I like about you as well. I love about you is the fact that you have your performer side, your career side, your sort of expressive side, but then you also have the side where you work with people and you help them feel grounded and safe within their nervous system so they can produce their best work. How did that come about?
Oh, I literally love to coach. I really have this belief, Esther, that you can both have, a number one record, or you can all have the leading role, or there's space for everyone. And I feel like when I was starting out, there was a lot of gatekeeper kind of behavior, jealousy, and also like people just, not wanting to share the secrets or the tips or who they know, whatever. So for me, it's just natural that I would want to help. I
Yeah.
think how it came about was I think it was 2018. I went to New York. I thought I was going to get sort of I was working with this famous producer to do with Kanye's team, and something untoward happened in the studio. And so it went from suddenly like a 50 grand kind of album deal to like, I physically can't work with someone who's this misogynistic and this kind of dangerous. So I ended up coming back home to London. But by then I'd signed like an absolutely baller penthouse rent. And I was like, shit, how am I going to... How am I going to do this? Because I can't put up with that behavior in New York, but I also now need quite a lot of money. So
Yeah.
I think that some of the best businesses are born out of desperation. I really think
Yes.
that.
Yes.
You need money, you will, and particularly if you're neurodiverse, you work very well under pressure. So I just started to put myself out there, and I think it was literally just like 50 quid and like, I'll help you with stage fright. But very quickly it became a thing that people realized, oh, actually Starling isn't just going to help me with my stage fright. So I started to get like on panels for like music industry stuff, and like, my stage fright hold me back. And then everyone was like booking stage fright sessions. But then it very quickly became business coaching. So I coached, I think, 300 people how to get a record deal. And then the pandemic, when the world stopped and my American tour and stuff didn't happen, I ended up actually training in sales training, coaching, a mastermind, and all that kind of thing that I could do from home. And then opened big groups, filled them, and then moved into working with women, strictly women, and then moving into celebrities. So coaching the cast of Ab Fab, coaching the creator of QI, Blackadder, coaching people that are under pressure. With managing pressure, but also how they can embody more of their own voice when there's a lot of team around them. So mainly people hire me for money, which I love to help them with money, but often it's never about money. It's about what stopped them believing that they can, because the money's already there waiting for you, but it's what has stopped them from not being able to receive that. That's generally the maturation process rather than the goal, is what I'm most proud of facilitating.
Yeah. And I think, going back to what you said, I think desperation does trigger you to think. And I think you often see it, don't you? Like, quite often when I look at friends' parents, the ones that have been the most successful didn't come from very much and fought and built big businesses because they were living in not much. And then if everything's too easy, then things are just comfortable. And I think that it's shit, but also bloody well done you for going, I'm not doing this. I'm not gonna take this record contract. I don't want to work with you. This is not going to be a thing. And to be able to use that skill set that you've got and be able to make a difference in other people's lives, because like people say, you think that everybody knows what you know, and they don't. And also, one of the like the top fear is speaking on stage or being on stage, isn't it? And more than death. And so
Really? Wow.
yeah, that's one, and number two is death.
That's
And
so interesting to me.
and so I'm not surprised that you have been in high demand for that. But yeah, you're building your own career. People can see you doing that.
Yeah.
And then you're also helping other people, like pulling the ladder down and going, you can do this too. And that in itself is hugely inspiring.
And I'm really keen, Esther, on promoting that all artists or freelance or self-employed or solopreneurs, as I say, need to have multiple income streams. And what's really wonderful is the mentoring is great. I was helping people and still am, and I love it. But what it also gave for me was some financial kind of security, or MRR, monthly recurring revenue, where I didn't have to work with a sleazy producer and go against my own boundaries because I needed the money. I could just have things on my own terms because there was money coming in from multiple sources.
Yeah.
Really want to promote that having multiple income streams is a positive and should be really encouraged, whether you want to do a coaching thing on the side, whether you want to just add, I don't know, another type of show to your portfolio, whatever it is. It's like, there are so many ways, get a sponsor on your show. There's so many ways to make money. And the other thing I want to say is I feel like a lot of the time I see particularly women say, oh, I couldn't do that till I'm trained. Well, if I'm honest, although I normally talk about my coaching career starting in the pandemic, because that's when I really went for it. I think those clients, 2018, 2019, I don't even know if I had training or insurance. I was just like, oh, I'll help you out.
Yeah.
You can give me some cash, and it was just like, you only learn by doing. And this is what I always say is like, if you want to learn how to drive a car, I can give you the manual, but you'll never know until you get in the car.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's kind of like, definitely get your training. I've then got my training in the pandemic. It's the same with my singing. I never had singing lessons when I got signed, but now I have a singing coach. Like, you can do all the professional things if you want the letters behind your name, if you want the team, if you want to get better, great, refine yourself. But often women, particularly women, are saying to me, oh, like, I couldn't possibly do that as an income stream because I haven't got the training. And I'm like, no, you learn by doing. And then from there, you can then go and like get all the excellent training or whatever you need as and when. Does that make sense?
It
Like,
makes total sense. And I think sometimes you can think, I know I want to be there and I don't know how to get there and it's too difficult and I don't know what to do. But actually just take one step in that direction, because actually what might happen is you don't quite end up there. You go over this way, but this way's way better anyway. And you're sort of going, oh, actually I can do this and I can do this. But unless you actually take that first step, you don't know.
yeah, exactly.
I actually did some corporate training in February with 2 senior leaders, and I'd never done it before. And I on that train up to Cheshire, I was rewriting. I had so many freaking exercises and everything. And then I got there and it was such a good day. And they both said to me, we've never done anything like that before. And it was brilliant. And you go, oh, okay. You sort of, you've got to try it. And as I say, you know what you know, and not everybody knows that. And what might seem basic to you is not basic to anybody else. And also with what you're doing is you are a creative, you are a singer, you are a visionary, you are intuitive, and you build that career. But then also you are a nervous system orientated, somatics. You're all into self-improvement and healing. And so that your career is effectively representing different parts of your personality. And like you say, it's then giving you the financial stability to be the artist you want to be. I was talking to today's episode's gone out. I was talking to a really brilliant writer called James Capel, and he runs this thing called Scribe Lounge, which has 5,000 writers, and it's an online community, and he writes for TV and stuff. But
Wow.
he was saying he had a part-time job for a few years that was 2 days a week, but then that meant, because he'd got that financial stability, that he had the brain power to create because he wasn't stressing about money,
I
and
was
that freed him up.
Oh, literally. So this is what I was going to say. And actually, I'm pleased we've come to this, is that I feel like it's not spoken about enough. But when we talk about creativity and what's blocking your creativity and how do you create the best work, one of the things that I think is not spoken about enough is how financial instability means you literally cannot think straight because you're so stressed about the bills. So of course you're not going to write a hit song, or you're not going to write the best script, because you're not, literally from a brain, from a neuro perspective, you're not feeling safe enough for the PFC, the prefrontal cortex, to do its magic, because your amygdala is firing off of like, how can I make this rent? And I'm not saying that everyone's in a situation of month to month, but I speak from experience as someone who had no money and also got into a lot of debt in my 20s, that really stopped me. It stopped me from like the wings rise, from me really spreading out and being as fantastically like creative as I can be, because all I was thinking about was money.
Well, and it echoes back to what we were saying earlier about, if you haven't got space, like you've been on a tour, now you need some downtime so your body can sort of regenerate and heal, and you've got space to think. And when you're not sure where your next paycheck's coming from, then that is taking up mental space as well. So how can you possibly create when you're thinking, oh, shit, I haven't worked for a couple of months, I'm all right for now, but I need to know. You just can't do it.
Yeah. And one of the things I teach, I don't know if this is boring or helpful to your listeners, but MRR, monthly recurring revenue, is when you're entirely freelance, i.e. you don't know if you're going to get the acting job or the singing job or whatever each month. You actually don't know what's coming. So then you have to be reliant reliant on savings, which isn't a bad thing. But what's great about MRR, i.e., lots of people paying in installments or lots of clients or lots of work that you know is coming up, is you can already be like, right, September, October, November's a 5K month. And then from January, it drops to 2. What can I do for January onwards to bring it back to 5 or whatever your enough number is? And it's just so peaceful and calming to be in a predictable state when creativity shouldn't be predictable. Like you're sometimes off, you're sometimes feeling the spice of life, sometimes not. But having that, to your point and your script writer's point is absolutely key.
Yeah. And I think that's the sort of, I don't know if is juxtaposition the right word in this, like the fact that you're a creative and you want to create and you can't do a 9 to 5 because that kills you. But you also need to know that, on the other hand, I need to know that I'm going to be able to pay my bills and actually live a life. And I don't want to have to constantly be living hand to mouth, but also I don't want to work in an office and I don't want 30 days a year holiday. And I don't want you to tell me what time I have to take my lunch. But, and I think this is the issue. So to be able to create that and know that you have that, oh God, I just think
100%.
that is what most people need. If people work with you, if people want to work with you, how do they go about that?
Well, it's sold out at the moment, but I'm actually launching in September, and I don't know when this is coming out, or if by saying that
in a fortnight.
Oh, that's fine. So I didn't know by saying that if you're like, this is released in December.
Merry Christmas.
Like, Merry Christmas, my friend. But in September, I'm actually launching again. I only ever have 15 in a group because everyone gets you literally get one-to-ones with me. So yeah, it's fully booked now, but in September I'll launch again. So they can go on starlingsworld.com or they can apply. We get on a call, see if, my skill set is appropriate. It's going to work for the said artist or the said client. And then I normally work for 6 months with people intensely. It's a 6-month journey. Yeah, I do that about twice a year. Yeah.
Wow. That must be so nice for you to work with somebody and really build that and have that sort of nurturing relationship.
Yeah, and it's not just about the goal, Esther. Like a girl, 25.2K she made this month, July.
Wow.
Name, but begins with an L. So Elle made 25.2K from something I was like, you really need to do this in the last couple of months she's been working on. And she was crying this morning. We just closing. She's going to take some time off for summer. And she was crying. She was like, it's not really about the money. And I was like, I know. And then she said what I was like, this is the thing. She was like, I've learned now how to sell. And if I know how to sell, I'll never stress about money again. Yeah. And I was like, cool, that's what I'm really teaching.
Yeah, because I think there can be a shame around selling, can't there? And that was reframed for me, in that it's not, it's just something you believe in.
Yeah, and also maybe she doesn't have 25 grand next month. Maybe it's not every month, but at least she knows how.
She knows she has the power to make that.
Right. And then when you've got that confidence, you walk down the street different. You don't stay in a marriage that's not suitable. Like, there's so many ways that when women have money in their hands, there is an emancipation about it.
Yes.
It gives them options.
Yes.
And like, whether it's from acting, whether it's from coaching, whether it's from songwriting, whatever, it's just a way of knowing that you are the conduit of your own wealth. You're the creator of that.
Yes.
And I think that's really interesting. I mean, I do teach other things, but I think it comes back to money, because money is a symbol of how are you being with visibility in the world? How visible are you being? And then also, what are you asking in return for your energy? And I think one of the shadows, sorry, I do realize the time, but one of the shadows I want to say about being an artist is this idea. It's very toxic, actually, because it's quite similar to being a healer, and it's the idea that I should give it to you all for free. Like, oh, let me make you this podcast and I won't charge. Like, the amount of stuff we're not paid for is insane.
Yeah.
Oh, let me sing for you. Now I'm a singer, so sometimes people say, oh, sing at my wedding for free. You would never ask an accountant to do your end of year return for free. You just wouldn't do it.
No.
It's lunacy. So why are we as artists, sorry, I'm getting on my right bloody.
No, I'm totally with you.
Come on, like, it's an absolute piss take. And the more artists that become rich, literally, if it said that on my tombstone, I'd actually be really chuffed with that. The more artists that become rich, we are turning the paradigm of the poor artist, and the artist has to be poor and like undervalued. We're turning that on its head, that actually could be a really rich artist and be totally satisfied and have a healthy bank account.
And there is actually no shame in wanting to be paid, because I think there's a lot of people that I work with who are saying, well, but then that's a bit bad and I shouldn't really ask for any money and we could do it for free. And I'm like, no. And I was asked to do a film earlier in the year, and they were like, would you come and it was somebody I've known for a long time, but they were like, will you come and shoot this film for me? It's just a couple of days work. And I was like, oh no. Because it was free, and I'm just sort of a bit like, I'm
No, it's the
48.
90s.
I've only got so like, who knows? Hopefully I've got another 40 years. Hope
Right.
maybe even another 48. I don't know, but I'm
You
going to spend
never know.
my time doing the things that I want to do.
Yeah,
And if I was being really passionate about it, yes, maybe I would have done it, but also I'm going to be remunerated for the stuff I do. I'm not
100%.
going to keep doing stuff for free, and there's that sort of there is that
That's so interesting.
expectation,
But also they
particularly as an
shame you.
artist.
Yeah,
Well,
like
sorry.
they shame me, like, "Oh, but it's
Yeah,
charity," and I'm like, "Show me your registered number," because I have a policy, I have a lot of personal policies, like secret boundaries, where like, I'll do 2 charity things a month because I love to help, but it can't really be more than that because I've also
yeah,
got other things that I juggle. So I'm open to giving free talks. I'm open to, but then it's got to be within my own remit or boundary of what I deem in terms of energy and time, what I think is really giving, but also what is respectful to me. And I think back
mm,
in the day, I was such a people pleaser that I was so entrenched in the narrative that to be a good girl, to be liked, is
yeah,
to be selfless. And
yes,
actually, that leads to resentment and bitterness
yeah,
rather than if you hold your own and you think about what do you really want for your time and energy and what does that look like in tangible cash. And that's back to the money piece. That's where actually, again, money is never about money. That's where it then comes back to self value. And I feel like we're not taught that as creatives. How do you value you in a world that wants you to work for free?
yes. And do you find that now your star is rising even more, that people ask you to do more things?
Yes, but I have my minimums raised. So I'm always feeling fantastic about what I get paid. And then with charity, like I don't know, you sort of heard my background, but like I'm really, really want to support DV charities, so domestic violence, because of my background and child abuse. So I've done really quite a lot of that in the summer and I'm really happy to do it. And of
Yes,
course I wouldn't ask for a penny. So
yes,
it depends. It's got to be something, and then I give talks to creatives for free, but they're only an hour once a month. And then at the end of it, I'd pitch anyway. I could say, oh, you could work with me. So it's got to be within my own boundaries. And I would not say what your boundaries are, like everyone's individual boundaries,
yeah,
right? But I've had to think about it because I became so bitter. I became so
yes.
critical.
Yes, because you're not doing well. I used to lose my voice, and then I developed Hashimoto's hypothyroidism, which is your thyroid, and
Yeah,
that is unspoken, and stuff that's
totally.
gone on, and it's then so now I am quite boundaried.
Yeah,
Um,
you
I'm
have to
so,
be.
you have to be, you have to be, and I think that can take a long time to learn. But that's also stuff I wanted to talk about on here: is build your own career, find out what makes you tick, earn your own money. You can still be a creative on your own terms, and you totally embody that. And that's why I really wanted to speak to you, because I do. I think you embody. You're just brilliant. You're just brilliant. I'm aware I've had you for an hour, but I've just loved chatting with you so much.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me on your show. This is such an important show with such an important theme and topic for creatives. So just thank you for leading the way.
Oh, bless you. Thank you. I took so much from that conversation with Starling. Everything she stands for, all the work that she does, I'm completely aligned with. It's completely what I believe, that we shouldn't be waiting around for gatekeepers, that we should think outside the box, that we need different income streams, that we have talents that don't just all fit under one umbrella, that we can make the life we want to live work for us. And she is a classic example of that. And yeah, I think she's putting a lot of joy and good into the world and changing the systems. And I love that. I'm all about that. If you want to work with her, I mean, who wouldn't? 25,000 grand in a 25, yeah, 25 grand in a month. Hello. Then do check her out. See if you can work with her. As she said, she's got an opening in September. I will put the links to her website and everything below. Starling's World is her page on Instagram. I don't know if she's on TikTok. To be honest, I try and avoid TikTok, but it's not always easy. Sometimes it lands on me. No, I mainly use Instagram. But yeah, do check her out. She's phenomenal. Listen to her music. It's so infectious and uplifting and empowering. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, please do like, subscribe, share, make a comment, whatever. And I will be back next week with another brilliant guest. Have a lovely week. Take care.